Excellent. Keep going.
Okay, I'll go. We had a guild representative roundtable a couple hours ago and had good conversations with some hardworking women who were Zooming and figuring out how to make it work for their guilds. And you want me to give a report, and the first thing my brain goes is, what did we talk about? We talked about
we talked about them continuing to book virtual classes going forward 2023. Some of them still aren't even meeting in person yet.
Right. And that they pretty much, one of them was asking how to make it work for a workshop when some of the people are at home and half the group really wants to be in a room together. And she was like, we didn't like that because the group in the room together was too rambunctious and not paying attention and made it hard for the rest of it. And pretty much all the rest of them said it works best when everybody's at home, and that the vast majority of the quilt people actually love having their Zoom workshops at home. So we were also talking about having, like, if you have a Zoom workshop where your whole guild is at home, then have a social meetup afterwards, have brunch, late lunch or something afterwards, or a sew-in afterwards to really get that social part together. And we talked about necessary equipment if you are going to make hybrid meetings work. It really only works if you've got somebody really tech savvy and you really have the equipment for it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of them have started to come to the realization that it's just beyond their technical capabilities to do it and do it well. So
for a workshop,
for workshops,
they're doing pretty good at kind of hybrid lectures. And we had a lot of Canadian reps at this one. And a lot of them were talking about how awesome it is that they can get people from Australia, you know, just people that they never in a million years would have been able to bring in, but they can via Zoom. So pretty much all of them were saying that the Zoom workshops are not going away. They like it. They are keeping it as much as they can. Some of the workshops, like next year, are doing half Zoom, half in person. But it was kind of encouraging that they're still, that this is working for them and that they really like it. And they're doing it not because they have to anymore. They're doing it because it works. And then we talked about, they talked about guild stuff, like how to get volunteers, how to raise money, what do you put in your newsletter, you know, just all the guild stuff. So was there anything else that was really relevant to us as teachers? They were asking, how do you know if somebody is a qualified Zoom teacher? Because some of them have had experiences where it wasn't super great. And we told them to ask for references, you know, ask for references and follow up on them. And we also mentioned the certification program that the Academy for Virtual Teaching has started. So references for sure. Diane?
Okay. So just to clarify, you said that they are finding that hybrid does not work for workshops. Is that correct? Okay. Because I have one coming up next weekend, 2 weekends, and they were saying we're not sure. And so I will go circle back with them and let them know that this is a challenging situation. Now, on the qualified Zoom thing, the other thing that I am hearing is that, you know, initially when they started Zooming, everybody was just hungry for content. And so they were grabbing up classes and everything. And I think the guilds and students are more discerning now. I mean, we've all learned a lot. So they are a little bit more discerning than they used to be. And the tech savvy is one thing, but the other is the attentability the attention that teachers are giving or not giving during the class is something that they feel pretty strongly about.
Right, the communication between teacher and student. And that was the main issue that we talked about with having a group in a room that Zooming a workshop, that it's really, really difficult for the teacher to see what the students are doing and to really do hands-on work. I mean, it works fine for a seminar or a demonstration, right? Because you don't need to interact, but we as teachers, that's what we do. We want to help our students. We want to see what they're doing. We want to help them overcome any problems or issues they have. So we need to be able to see what they were doing. So there were some mitigation measures that we talked about if they insist on having part of the group together. One was have a moderator in the room, and the moderator is very clear on what the rules are. You know, don't ask each other for help and then say, I'm confused, I don't know what's going on. You come up to the screen and the microphone and you talk to the teacher, and some of them like put a piece of tape on the floor and said, this is where you stand. So you could talk to the teacher and show her your stuff. And the moderator also kind of pulled people up and helped them interact with the teacher. So there are mitigation measures, but it's still so much harder.
One of the other things we recommended was that they manage the expectations for the students, and to let them know ahead of time that it's not going to be, when you're in a room full of people doing a virtual workshop, it's different than when you're actually in your own studio by yourself doing a virtual workshop. So the expectation needs to be managed of what the experience is going to be like.
Right, Meldon Sue.
And also to communicate with the teacher as they know what their students are going to be doing. This way we can be proactive, we can manage and kind of set those expectations up at the start of our orientation. So don't surprise teachers.
Diane and then Carol.
Yes, so the feedback I was getting from students was not related to hybrid classes so much as just regular Zoom workshops. And their frustration, and again, this is becoming them getting more discerning, is they didn't want the teacher to zone out on them or walk away and say, I'll be back in 30 minutes and check on you. And you know, they gave some specific names of pretty well-known teachers who were not being attentive to the students during a regular, you know, workshop. So, you know, where they might have been okay with this a year ago, now they're really wanting the teacher to interact with them and not step away and be gone for a length of time. So just sharing that. I mean, that seemed to be a common issue with the people that I was interviewing for an article I was writing.
Absolutely. I can't imagine bailing on a class for a whole half an hour while they're working. Carol.
One of the things that I've been doing with the Zoom workshops, where everybody's on Zoom, I refuse to do hybrid, as you know. That's just a disaster. But one of the things I do is I've now set up the camera that faces my design wall so that it also captures a little bit of me at my sewing machine. So while they're working, I'm usually doing the next step of sewing on the step outs that I already showed them, so that I can come back and say, okay, I talked to you about this and I sewed these together and now I'm going to do the next step. But I mute myself, but I am still in my room, and I always come back every few minutes and say, unmute yourself if you've got a question. I just keep checking in. And if I'm stepping away to go to the bathroom, I say, I'm going to be gone for 5 minutes, going to the bathroom. I'll be back. But I learned that was really important, but I don't leave the room. I'm still in my one studio room. And even though some of them leave their studios to go off to do whatever, which is kind of interesting. On the other side of the hybrid lectures, One of my guilds has been doing them and having, our meetings as hybrids. And I have to tell you, the people on the Zoom check out really fast. They can't hear the people in the room. They can't see well because people don't stand in the right spot to talk or give their reports or do show and tell. And just universally, the people on Zoom are saying they're having a really like 50% experience, and they're not happy with it. So that's all I had to say about hybrids and staying in the room with people.
Thanks, Carol. We appreciate it. Catherine.
Yeah. So Carol, are you talking about you're still on Zoom, or are you when you're talking about the lecture, or are you there in real life and they are sending it out to people in their houses?
Oh, thanks for asking the question. No, I am not traveling to teach.
You're not traveling.
I mean, it's not just COVID related. I'm just not going to do it anymore.
Yeah. No. I understand that. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on Zoom
Right.
when I'm lecturing.
So they've got you on the screen.
On a big screen.
Yeah.
However, every time a group has done that, every single time, we have practiced, 30 minutes before. They've had the tech person for the church or whatever there. Every single time the camera went out or the audio went out, every single time. And I don't know if I just have bad luck, but they've said, no, it can be glitchy even with the practice.
Okay.
But as a guild member sitting in a room at a guild meeting, and some of the guild members are on Zoom, it's really not a good experience. It just isn't. And I've been on the Zoom end too, and it's
right.
It's just not a good experience. Hybrids, most guilds. I actually have a handout that I send to guilds. If anybody wants that, email me, and I just wrote down all the things you need to think about if you're going to do any kind of hybrid lecture or workshop. So if you want that, feel free to email me, and maybe
you shared it with us, and we've added it to the file at the Global Quilt Connection.
Great, thank you, Larry.
Resources. One thing I've done when I was Zooming a lecture in is I'm on early, and the people who are at home, I don't do anything. I ask them not to turn on the projector or anything in the main room until it's time for my lecture. But I'm on early, and I really chatted up with the people at home because they're really not participating in the stuff that's happening there. And I stay after the lecture, after I've done the whole group lecture question and answer thing. But I make a big effort to make a little bit of connection with the people who are just on the computer. So helps them a little bit, but you're absolutely right. It's hard. Very good. Who has something they want to chat about? Reports, questions, emotional outbursts, it's all welcome.
I'll just say, I'm sorry. I just want to say that COVID has been very good to me. And it forced me to up my game, as many of us did. And I am I continue to be thrilled that guilds are booking lectures well into 2023, virtual lectures. I mean, into like mid-year 2023. So that's a good thing.
Right.
Although I suspect there'll be more and more hybrids. Thanks, everybody.
There will be. I'm going to tell you guys the rules the same as we use with everything else. When you want to talk, go like this, and I'll call in your name, and I'll try to remember who's next. So Brenda, and then Dana. We can't hear you. It doesn't say you're muted, but nothing is coming through. It's not sounding. We'll go to Dana while you work on it, but like keeps making sound or something, and we'll see if we can get you coming through. Dana.
Yeah, well, first I wanted to say I'm sorry I was a little bit late. I'm at the
No worries.
Quilt Surface Design Symposium, and I had a little trouble getting connected. So Yeah, it's pretty fun. I just finished a 7-day independent study with Michael James, and I don't know, there were about 20 of us. And I want to say thank you for Global Quilt Connection. I am going to be teaching at Houston for the first time, 3 classes and 2 lectures. So I'm really excited. And that's because of Global Quilt Connection. It wouldn't happen otherwise. And I, like Carol, I'm booking into next year. Because I came in late, maybe you already covered this, but I just wondered if you did any announcements, like in terms of what's next for Global Quilt Connection or anything. Okay. That's
We'll
all.
talk about that after you guys are first. This is for you.
Okay, well, and my hybrid experience has been that if I'm on Zoom and they've got a decent system where they are and they're familiar with it and we practice, that actually goes fine. But if I'm in person and they're trying to Zoom to some people, that does not seem to be what they have figured out. And maybe someone's already said that, but the in-person, I'm not willing at this point to do in-person things where there's some people on Zoom, unless I get there and we practice, because that just doesn't seem to be working. They can't see my slideshow. They haven't figured out how to see the slides, and my presentations, my lectures are mostly slides, so.
Kelly?
Well, what I found in relation to that kind of situation, and I just had this happen within the last week, is that they don't always let you know that they're Zooming to people at home. And sometimes they don't know that they're doing that until the last minute. And I have absolutely no control over that. So I just get up and do my dog and pony show because that's what they hired me to do. And they're the ones that are trying to Zoom at people at home. And I know those people at home didn't get a really good view of what was going on, but you do the best you can because that's what you got to do. So.
Right. Carol also had, I'm pretty sure I borrowed this from you, Carol, in your contract. There's a page, I put her information sheet in the contract, and it's got things there like, please tell the teacher the week before. If you're doing hybrid, the day before, you have to call on the phone, and we have to understand what equipment you've got and what you're going through. And they have to initial that page on my lecture. So hopefully, and it's part of my check-in the 2 weeks before and the week before a gig to say, what equipment are you using? How is this working? Is it going to be hybrid or in Zoom and stuff? So yeah, we have no control, but we can, a huge part of we're communicators, right? But a huge part of making our businesses successful is the communication we do before we ever start teaching. Brenda, did you figure out your sound yet? Let's give it a try. Nope. We've got something going on. I'm hearing like a feedback beat. Or like,
Yeah, some sort of feedback that's coming through.
this has happened a number of times to several of my students or people who know what they're doing with Zoom, where I don't know if they're connected to Bluetooth or what's going on, but it doesn't show that they're muted, but it's not working. All right, I always double check my audio settings and see where I'm connected. Who's next? Who wants to chat or tell us what they've been doing lately? Something that's successful or something that you're struggling with that we can brainstorm and help you with.
Nobody's got anything to say, really? Come on. Seriously.
I'll always talk. So yeah, I'm back on the road. So thank you to everyone who doesn't want to be on the road, because I had a really nice time in Hilton Head walking along the beach, and they are looking for people in real life who'd like to walk along the beach with them. Just pass that on. But just so I keep my feet on the ground, I'm also spent a week in Des Moines, and I'm going to Moline Illinois as well. So, you know, just so you know, I'm actually finding it tricky to remember what to do going 1 week in person and then coming back and Zooming, remembering which things to press and what you need where, and packing my bags. Whereas I had it all in a routine before, like I'd come home, I'd get this out, I'd put that in, I'd do this, I'd do that. Now I'm bringing things in here and then I forget to put them back in the bag. And I guess I'm getting older. So it's a bad combination, you know, but yeah, so no, I'm really grateful to Global Quilt Connection because it's, you know, it got me working and sorted and everything. And I've got a great problem at the moment, you know, just coping with things. So if you see me anywhere and I appear in chaos, just tell me to calm down, okay? But I did book that SACWA thing in San Diego. Is anybody going to that? I decided I deserved it. Oh, Mel will be there. I decided I deserved a treat. So I'm thinking that'll be a treat. So I'll see Mel there. Be nice to see some people when I'm not actually working and actually see people. But there you are. I filled a gap for 5 minutes. They told me that the Peninsula Wearable Art Guild told me I was a dynamic speaker. I think that's because I just talked for an hour and a half without stopping.
Very nice. And it's so good to hear that I am not the only person who has completely forgotten how to travel teach. Lisa's got her hand up, then Scarlett.
There you are.
Hi, everybody. Just want to say hello. And also going to, this coming week, I'm doing my first in-person trunk show in the 2 years. And I used to have a checklist of things I needed. I don't even know where the checklist is. And I'm just thinking, did I ever do this before? Like, how did it's only an hour drive in New Jersey, but I'm just like, all the thought of having to pack up the merchandise and the stuff and which clothes am I taking. And I'm just like, how did I ever do this before? Because now I'm just in the studio, I pull out a bag, everything's set, I hang them up. I mean, it's great. Yeah, and that's all, it's just a whole rethought now. Like who just said that she's older now? It's just like a little bit different. You know, we're 2 years older plus the stress, you know? And I'm just like, wow, okay, I really have to plan ahead. I can't just do it in 10 minutes before I leave. I have to really start like tomorrow for like Wednesday. So
right,
it'll be interesting.
Or a couple weeks before my first trip back, I totally forgot I had to order supplies.
Right.
And it was almost too late. I had to pay for fast shipping because it was like,
oh, wow.
Oh, wait. Oops. It was crazy.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's my story too. I got a last minute call 2 days out, a local guild about 2 hours away. Their speaker had to cancel. She caught COVID. So they said, well, could you come up and do a trunk show? Well, I was off that night, but then I realized the next day I would have, since they wanted a trunk show, I had to pack 40 quilts, and then drive, do a program, show the quilts, pack them back up, come home late that night, and spend the next day unpacking the suitcases to put them away. And I was like, this is a 3-day event just to give a lecture as a total trunk show. I was like, I think I like my PowerPoint better.
It definitely is a pain.
Yeah, but I'm glad I was able to save the day because otherwise the poor workshop chair was going, well, we're going to do the dog and pony show or some kind of bingo thing or something, who knows. But yeah, it was a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. Diane.
Catherine, you are coming to my quilt guild, the Mississippi Valley Quilt Guild in Moline, Illinois. And here's I'm already signed up for your workshop, so I will be taking your class.
Okay, well, my bag is packed.
All right, well, good.
My bag is packed, but I've still got a few things because I've actually got my grandchildren here until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then I'm driving in because apparently all my children decided they needed a proof of life visit over the last month. And then, yeah, so, oh, good. Well, Diane, come and say hi. Do you go to the lunch? Do you go to the afternoon or the evening meeting?
Well, I usually go to the afternoon meeting. And so I might.
Come out for dinner in between.
It's a busy week, but I will try to do that. Okay, my Global Quilt Connection request is, you know, when we first started, and we needed to have a lot of communication amongst ourselves as well. So the Facebook group was very active, and you could always count on getting a lot of responses. And, I know we've all gotten busy, again, but it just doesn't seem like we're maybe sharing as much as we did initially. Even if it's about, hey, did you notice there's a call for teachers at this location or that location? And there's still posts about, problems and can you help me solve these things? But I would like to see continued communication through the Facebook page. And, I get busy and I forget to look, but I try to go back and look and respond to help support people. But it's a great feature of our group. And I just like to see us, continue to keep it very, very vibrant. It's a good tool.
Okay, the challenge has been issued. Y'all pick it up. You've got this. Sue.
So on a completely unrelated topic, so Deborah, I noticed that, or I saw through your newsletter that you're doing this new thing with previous students, this sort of drop-in thing every so often. To give us some details on that. How's that going?
Yeah, I started a new project that I'm calling follow-up sessions. I'm hosting them once a month. They're 90 minutes. And the agenda is basically a mini presentation from me on some part of the creative process and a group activity. And then the attendees just have an opportunity to ask questions, get critique, guidance, demos, whatever. That part's sort of up to them. I've limited enrollment to 12 people per, so that everybody has time to ask their questions. I've done 2 months. I did April and May. I have June, July, and August scheduled. And they're great. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I mostly did it because I just wanted to do something different. And I really like doing programs. So the idea of having an opportunity to develop a little 15-minute program on a topic that's interesting to me sort of feeds my creative process, energy. And then to be able to share it with people seemed like a good way to add some structure to my professional life. So it's going great. I decided to make them pay what you wish, which has also been really interesting, and it's good. Thanks for asking. Y'all can, I'll put a link in the chat to the page on my website where I describe the follow-up sessions. If you want to join in, you'd certainly be welcome to. It's really, the idea is that it's an opportunity to connect or reconnect. And theoretically, it's for people who are familiar with me and my work. I say, if you bought my book or you've attended a lecture or a workshop, you're absolutely welcome. But even if you haven't, come on, I'm happy to see you. Everybody's welcome.
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea. I thought it was inspired. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to hear what the range they pay for on a pay what you wish. I'm really curious.
So it ranges from, so it's 90 minutes. I would say the average is probably $27-ish. The least has been 15 and the most has been 100. So the pay what you wish, I have the flexibility not to need to make a certain amount of money with my offerings. And so I have the opportunity to explore this sort of format. Also, I really do want it to be accessible to anyone. Like really, if $5 is what feels right to them, I'm absolutely okay with it. And I think that it sort of evens out. You get those people who pay $100, and it's also sort of an opportunity for people who have $100 and want to support me, that this is a way for them to do that. And also the other reason I did it is because I hate pricing. Like, who knows what is the right price? So maybe I do this for a while and then it's clear to me what the price actually is, what the market bears. And then maybe if I was doing it again, I would be able to choose that as the price. But I sort of like this pay what you wish format. I don't see changing it up quite yet. I've only done 2 months thus far, so it's still too soon to really tell.
Right. I've seen some pay what you wish formats where they suggest this is what the time or the course or the thing that you're buying is worth, and then you choose whatever you want to pay.
Yeah,
you know.
and I did not even want to do that. I really wanted it to be just wide open, and I didn't want there to be a drop down, choose a price. And so part of the challenge of this was finding a platform that offered a truly enter your own price, including zero option. And I'm using Gumroad. That's the platform that. So I'm going to put a link to the page on my website that describe those follow-up sessions.
Interesting. I thought
And
Gumroad was like the Australian Craigslist. Anyway, cool. Very
Gumroad,
cool.
Gumroad takes 9% plus 30 cents per transaction until you have $1,000 in sales, and then the cut goes down to 7% until you have $100,000 in sales. And I don't even know what it goes down to then, because I don't anticipate making that much.
Didn't bother to look that far, huh?
Yeah, who knows? Awesome. That is such a brilliant idea. I really like it.
It's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Great.
Yeah. Very cool.
Do you know who paid what, or it's all anonymous?
I know who paid what. I am using Zoom. Yes, I am using Zoom. Carol, Zoom meeting. Yep. So I get the purchases through Gumroad, and then I import those emails into a segment on Flowdesk, and then they get the registration info, they get the reminder, and then they'll get a follow-up email afterwards. With a recording. I didn't record the first 2 months, and I regretted doing that. So going forward, I'm going to record, because I had what I felt was sort of a surprising number of no-shows. And I didn't want to feel obligated to give them an opportunity to come to another event, but I also didn't have anything to give them since I hadn't recorded it. So now it's going to be recorded, and if they don't show up, they get the recording.
Cool.
How are you going to restrict how long you leave the recording up, or is it
1 month? Yeah, Brenda came last month.
cool? Wow, it's a great idea.
It's something that only works in the virtual platform, right? I mean, this is something
Right.
that we can do because this digital reality is something people are willing to embrace.
The other thing too is that it gives you a chance to sort of test drive some topics and some subjects as well. And along the way, you're almost building content for other things. So.
Yeah, for sure. I could take these little mini 15-minute mini sessions and put them together into one larger lecture, or yeah, you're right. I mean, I could definitely recycle the content. Julia, when people register, they pay. They have a blank where they enter how much they pay.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it.
Awesome.
Oh, what else is everybody?
All right, who wants to follow that?
Right. What are you doing, Jennifer? How's your teaching going?
Hi. I have a trunk show next week. It's at 10 o'clock at night. And I go to bed at 9. So it will be very interesting. I haven't done anything for quite a while. but I do have a few things through the summer and then into the fall. And I have my first in-person stuff in the fall again, which I'm in Canada, and I find it'll be interesting going in person again. And so Catherine was saying, and somebody else, Scarlett was saying, you know, packing up and everything. Well, I have one more thing to add to it. I have to get into a boat and then go to the mainland and take it out of the boat and put it in the car. So it is a lot more, it's a lot of work. I much prefer to do the Zoom classes, and I don't have to leave the island, and it's I just find it much more engaging, and I find the students really love the Zoom classes. And I divide my workshops up into 3 sessions, whereas I do 1 hour of a, what do you need? What is your pre-work? What kind of fabrics do you need? How do you do a fabric run for my Bargello sunflower? And so on and so forth. And then the next 2 sessions are both 3-hour sessions where there's demos and lots of time to work and ask questions and everything. And I can't imagine a teacher leaving their class for half an hour. That just is mind-boggling. But anyway, so, and I try to make sure everybody engages, but there's always the ones that don't have their video on. And, you know, it's like, okay, well, I just keep calling out their names and say, how are you doing? So, but, so far everything's going well. I have had quite a few US guilds contact me about doing in person. I don't know, because I'm Canadian, I don't know what paperwork is needed for immigration. I don't know how to go about doing in person. Zoom is fine. All I have to do is fill out the 8 BEN thingy, whatever. But in person is something totally different. And my problem is that I spend 5 months of my life in Arizona in the winter, and I don't want to jeopardize not being able to get across the border.
I've heard nothing good about trying to get into the States to teach.
Yeah, that's I have a friend who is she's a weaver, master weaver, and she has stopped teaching in the US because of that.
Yeah. So sorry about that. Our system,
yeah, which it's sad because I could have a lot more engagements.
And we're missing out on a lot of amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Carol, I see your hand up.
And now I've forgotten what I wanted to talk about. Oh, I know what it was. It was the question about, or the comment about people not turning their video cameras on during workshops. I now have language in the registration form, on the payment page, and everywhere I can think, saying you will be required to turn on your video. And the reason I started doing that is last year I had at least two occasions where people forgot and they turned on their video and they had other people in the room with them who had not paid for the workshop. And they gave me all kinds of weird stories. Oh, she's just a friend and she just happened to drop by and she just wanted to spend a couple minutes. And I said, yeah, okay. And I was gracious about it, but I don't like having blank video because I'm now paranoid about it. I mean, you know, things are going to happen, but at least if I put it out there, it's a little bit of a dampener, I think now. Anyway, that's my thought.
And I look at it, I mean, and it's a completely valid perspective, completely. I look at it as a different, from a different perspective, that for some people, that's a huge advantage. I mean, there are people who would never go to a class, or people who, for one reason or another, they really couldn't handle having their video on. And it is, you know, they understand that we can't see what they're doing, and I just talk to them and check in and make sure they're answering me. But I've only had one time where a bunch of people were in a room without having paid for the seats, and that was at the very beginning. And it's just kind of clear in my contract that each person who watches has to have paid, and I'm totally willing to just let it go. So Carol, your perspective is completely valid and completely fine.
I should clarify, Lyric, thank you for your comment though, because I should clarify that I actually don't make people turn on the video. I actually do not do that. But I figure, well, if I say I will and you're required to, that solves the problem as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But I do the same thing with you. I check in and I want to hear their voices,
Right.
mainly just to make sure they're engaged.
And make sure they're okay,
and
right?
yeah, and make sure they're okay, and just let them know I'm thinking about them. But but you make a good point. I do not make people turn on the camera.
Right. And one thing I do, especially if they don't want to turn on the camera, but what has started working really well is I teach people how to take a picture of their project with their phone where it's not keystone, and get all the other guck out of the way and take a nice picture, and they email it to me. I'm fine with them using my business email, and then I share screen, so their project gets up on the screen without their face, and that's been working really well for me. They have to tell me in chat that they sent something, because I'm not watching my email while I'm teaching. But that's another way to engage somebody with their screen off. Can't remember, there was somebody who had their screen off who had a really good reason the other day. I think they were in a care facility with an aging parent taking care of them or something. And it was amazing that they could be in the class at all, so excellent. I love Zoom. I love Zoom teaching. And it was really fun when I was live teaching once I got in the classroom, but everything up to that was horrid. It was like I forgot entirely how much work this was. So there we go. Who else is doing stuff? Kelly, what are you working on?
I've started doing in person again. Mostly they're fairly close by. I actually, a few weeks ago, was scheduled to go to Fort Worth and had to cancel because my husband had a heart attack, but he's doing fine, thankfully. So that's added, just another layer of excitement around our household. So there you go. But yeah, I love every day what I do, and I really love being able to use Zoom a lot. And I don't think I recognized how hard it was on a body until I had this extended period where I just wasn't packing stuff up. I mean, things were so busy for the couple of years leading up to COVID that it was just such a routine. Like Catherine meant, everything was just down to a science, and I knew where things were, and I could throw things in the car, and you just were so used to dragging stuff all over the place. And now it's like, gosh, darn it, I'm 2 years older, and it's really hard on a body packing all this stuff around. So I'm encouraging people to do a lot more Zoom things, and especially I'm finding workshops. Well, I guess I shouldn't even say that, because even lectures, some of what I do, I still do live. I mean, where I hold up the quilts, but I can bring them in for a close-up and they can see. Everybody has a great seat. Whereas if you're, down in the basement of the church, nobody can see the little fine details that you're trying to show them. And I just feel like everybody gets so much better a program when they're sitting at home on Zoom than they do when they're sitting in the church basement, that they're 30 feet or 40 feet back from the stage. So, but it's interesting. It's just, it's kind of crazy now. I mean, it's crazy, I think, the level of variety of comfort with people doing in-person programs now has been interesting. My own anxiety, for one, I mean, just, especially getting back into it, like do we all need to wear a mask? Who's going to wear a mask? You know, there's no mandates or anything, but also just the variety that I'm hearing from the other side as well. So, you know, it's a new world. Here we are.
Right. One thing, oh, Scarlett.
I just wanted to mention that I did go to a group quilt meeting and we did have the issue. She mentioned the masking. Do you still mask? Not even though there's not a mandate. And we had the scare thing where after we came back from the meeting 2 days later, a general email got sent out that somebody in the group tested positive. So we all needed to go out and test. So we're all like, oh, really? Did we need to do that? But you know, that stuff still happens and you take that chance. I carry masks with me, but I am second boosted. And I've had people ask me that, you know, when they say, well, we're considering it in person, where are you on the vaccination thing? So that is still something to consider.
For going back to traveling in person, I need to write it down in my contract, but when I talk to them, when I'm ready to purchase airfare, I've told them only non-refundable tickets. And we have it in the contract that, you know, if something happens at the last minute, Zoom is completely available, but I'm not purchasing tickets that are not refundable for both of our benefit. Because at this point, we never know what's going to happen, right? Who else has stuff? Julia, what are you working on?
Yes, so things have been going really well for me. I certainly don't have as many bookings as I had last year, but I still have both in-person and Zoom bookings. This year, next year, I've decided I really don't like doing in person anymore. All of what everybody else said about the hassle of packing it up and the amount of time and that's involved. So I changed my policy to say I have to have a minimum of 3 days of teaching, which to be in person, and I've got a limit of 200 miles that I'm going to travel. I've decided I taught at empty schools, and of course, you know, for empty schools, I would schlep everything out there, but I decided I'm not going to travel by airplane. It's just too much hassle to carry all this stuff. So I'm finding it really, I'm really pleased with the amount of teaching I'm still doing. Things are going well. I haven't done the hybrid stuff very much, but the ones that I did do, that it went okay. One of the things, Shannon Brinkley has got this program, I think it's closed now, but I watched her free videos about, you know, starting, improving your quilting business. And one of the things that really resonated with me that she talked about was scalability. And, you know, I'm a long armor for other people. And of course that's trading hours for, you know, for money and the teaching. And I know on here, we've talked a lot about going to your recorded video stuff, but she had so many ideas just in her free videos that talked about how do you make money beyond your hourly trading of, you know, your hours for payment. And that's really inspired me to think about how can I monetize what I'm already doing. So it was just fun to think about. And I've declared that I don't have any teaching gigs this summer, which is great because I've got 3 or 4 different vacations planned. And I've declared in my mind, I'm on sabbatical. And so my commitment was I wasn't going to have to do anything work related. But then of course, now I've got the July sampler platter that I've got to prepare for. Okay, so I'm making an exception there, but it's really been freeing to not have to think, oh, I've got to get more business. And because I think I have that attitude right now, I'm getting all these great ideas for new classes or things to do. So I'm just writing them all down that I'll say, when I'm done with my sabbatical, I'll work on that. So it's just been fun.
Nice. Really nice. Susan, what have you been working on?
I think I've had spring fever.
I don't want to work on anything. I just want to be outside.
Yeah, I was outside, and then I hurt my back, so now I'm back inside. But yeah, I just was taking a break, and I had COVID in beginning of May, and not too bad, but and so I'm just every day I've been trying to go on EQ8 or something, or draw like some new designs and some things like that. And just I have customer stuff I have to do. I've been doing teaching in person, and I've got these trunk shows, and it is a pain. I have to go upstairs, get all these quilts, bring them down, pack everything, go bring the quilts back upstairs. And I'm just like, this is just, it's a lot of work. Quilts are heavy and takes up the whole back of my car. And I'm gonna do a Zoom class in July. And that's it, just trying to keep
Nice.
going there.
Yeah, I hope you feel better soon. That's
Yeah.
no fun when they give you trouble. What did I just talk about? Oh, the sampler platter. Somebody said it was a really good boost for their business.
Kristen said.
Right? The
Yeah.
sampler platters, the guilds love them. You know, it's great programming, inexpensive for the guilds, but for the teachers, you get your face in front of lots of people. And we, Sue and Mel and I try really hard to make sure that we're pitching the teachers, and we're saying, you know, everybody out there, if you love this, tell your guild rep, have them, they're available to come in for it. These are just little tastes, you know, bring them in for the whole entree and have them come. So we are still taking applications for September, right, Sue?
Yeah, deadline for September's applications is 7/1. So you've got a couple of weeks to get yours in if you want to try to get in on the September platter. It's your 15 minutes of fame. You get, I mean, we literally have thousands and thousands and thousands of views. And the July one, we're going to leave up for 48 hours. So those of you who are presenting at July get a little extra face time. Depending on what the response is for doing that in July, we may do that for September as well. So, but it gets a lot of traffic over the course of the 24, 48 hours that it's up. So,
right. And it's not just that. Mel is putting out sneak peeks and a lot of advertising on social media. It goes out in our general, the list goes out in our general newsletter. That how many people do we have on there, Sue? Like,
yeah, we get 10,000 subscribers, and you know, it goes out repeatedly too over the course of the several months leading up to it. So there's constant reminders going out about it. So, and the guilds love it. I mean, they eat it up. So
it's great for you, although we have to say that if you sign up and you're picked, show up.
You got to show up. You cannot
if you don't.
You cannot
May I
email
ask a
us the day
question?
before and say, oh, you know what? Sorry, I have a conflict. Because we do a lot of promotion and a lot of marketing way ahead of time.
And it's a
for
ton
you.
of work and stress for us.
So.
Okay, questions from David, then Dana.
My question is this: what I want to demo is not in PDF, and I'm not even sure how to make a PDF of it. So what are my options? I would love to be part of it.
It doesn't, I mean, the main idea is not the PDF. The PDF is a supplement. You can just have like written out step by step, say, I'm doing this, and these are the materials you need. It is a supplement, and it's something they keep, and a lot of the quilters print it out and it has your email on it or
Okay,
your website on it. It is meant not to be the main part. The main part is your 15-minute demo. It's a
It's just an
corollary.
add-on. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Okay.
a way for you to say, this is what I did in my 15 minutes. So remember me, and here's who I am and how to get in touch with me.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that's one of the most important things for quilters to be able to get in touch with you and to make this successful for your business. You need your website on there because the visuals go away after 48 hours. These do not stay up live permanently. They go away. They're seen thousands of times, but then we're creating a time limited demand for this.
Yeah.
So they get all those views, and they're not going to remember people's names or what the website was from the video. So that's what the PDF is for.
One more question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I may. My thing is paper piecing, different way to paper piece, blah, 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 blah. But what I wanted to demo was not paper piecing. Do you recommend that I go with what my name represents or something completely different?
It's whatever you want.
Okay.
So part of the purpose is you're giving them it's a sampler platter. You're giving them a taste of how you teach. There's
What I do.
Actually do your thing.
Okay.
So, and the purpose is to entertain them and to educate them. But for you, the purpose is to show your stuff, to strut your virtual teaching skills, as well as show your personality and show what you've got.
Thank you.
Yeah, good. Dana.
So Mel sort of answered this in chat, I think, but if you've done it before, can you do it again? And if so, how far apart can you apply? I didn't apply for September because I'd done one this year, but I get a bump when I do it. And so I'd love to do it again, but I didn't know if that was appropriate.
We give first priority to people who have not done it recently. And then when we run out of people, we go back to people who have done it recently.
So it would make sense to then apply.
Sure, it's fine to apply. And we also, part of the thing is to have a really broad range of techniques that are shown and to really mix them up. So there is truly something for everybody. So the quilters that are watching are getting a huge broad range of techniques and stuff. So we don't put 6 applicators out of the 9 people on one day. And we usually only have no more than 2 on each day, and then 1 or 2 piecings, and then 1 improv and 1 surface design. And so we really tried to spread it out and get a really good representation of all the amazing things that are taught in the quilt world. But yeah, go ahead. Sue,
Something to think about too, if you've already done it and you want to do it again, is that you may end up, especially given that you get a boost from it. It's in your best interest to maybe put a different spin on something that you're going to do, something a little bit new, so it doesn't look like you're just a repeat from the time they saw you 3 samplers ago. So
yeah, we're not going to pick the same demo again. It's going to be new every time. Brenda, then Diane.
Thank you.
We can hear you. Yay.
Change computers. The thing that I wanted just to thank Lyric and the Global Connection team for was that I went to teach at a 4-day teaching event last week, and everything that people have been saying about having to schlep stuff, catch planes, taxis, all the rest of it is true. But it was fantastic to meet students in person. There were a lot of people that said, oh, we saw you on the Global Connection Sampler, even here in Australia. And but the thing I really want to say thank you for is that acoustically, it was a very challenging environment. And having 4 long days of talking when I don't talk at home, to my husband over dinner, that to use a voice amplifier was fantastic. It really, people could hear me, people could, I also used a digital projector and overhead demonstration area so they could see me on screen. It meant that I could stay socially distanced and people could hear me, and I came home and I still had a voice. So it was fantastic.
It is so cool that the tech that we're learning here through Zoom is so applicable to other parts of our teaching career. You're right, the voice amplifier, with or without the mask, best ever. I can just use, I have a mom voice and a teacher voice, so I can project and everybody can hear me, but it gets so tiring. And the voice amplifier, I could talk totally normal and everybody can hear me, and it wasn't a pain in the neck. Super easy to use, small, lightweight, the one I use, and the projectors are great. So way to go, Gail. That's amazing.
Yeah. It was an environment where it was open top classrooms in a great big exhibition hall. So it was like a concrete triple-sized gymnasium that you were just speaking up into this void. And to have a voice amplifier was fantastic.
Great. Diane, I think you're next.
Okay, so I'm interested in the sampler platter, but my challenge is I don't know how to break it down into a 15-minute segment that whets your appetite without giving, you know, everything away. I mean, it's almost like you're giving them 1 or 2 steps and you're leaving them hanging, which I guess is the idea. But I can't quite figure out how I would want to do that. So anybody has ideas, I'm interested in hearing.
Yeah, I know in my classes, I'm in my technique classes instead of just my design concept classes, I'm teaching them different things all along the way, right? And one builds on the other. But for instance, in my hand beadwork class, one of the things I teach is for them to do a securing knot on the back of their project every inch or so as they're adding beads to fabric. And a lot of people are like, oh, this is the best ever. You know, so just that one little bit or just the first bit. And I mean, I'm sure you have more than 15 minutes worth of stuff for a 3-hour class that you can teach. You don't want to leave them hanging. You don't want to, you're teaching them something and they need to not be left without knowing how to do the thing. But even if you do give away a lot of stuff, they've only got it for 48 hours and they're going to love it so much that they want you for 3 hours or 6 hours. What do the rest of you think?
I agree that I had a very sort of proprietary method of doing something, and I decided to go public, and I was on the quilt show. And one of the things that happens is you can sort of show everybody what you do, but they want to hear you do it. They want to have you in the front of the room because you're the expert about it. Even if they understand what it is you did, you have all of these tweaks and fine tunes and different things that you do that nobody else can do in front of the room. So my advice is to show them what you got and know that they're going to want you to be the one to show them all of it.
So if I'm not leaving them hanging, then I'm doing the 4-hour class in a 15-minute segment then. Is that?
No, not at all. What you're doing is you're giving us a taster of what it is you do. So give me an example of a class that you do that takes 4 hours. And I'm guessing you have more than one class.
I have 4 different classes. But
okay, so what's the primary technique that you teach?
I have completely different techniques. One's a commodified quilt as you go. The other one is a machine quilting hexes. And the other is 3-dimensional wire, 3-dimensional projects.
Okay, so off the top of my head. So maybe you have a small 3-dimensional thing that you could do that will take 10 minutes to demo. It doesn't have to incorporate every single thing that you would do in a 4-hour class, but maybe it's a small element of what you do. So you demonstrate and you say, and you focus on, you know, the materials that you use, or why you use this particular substrate to do this particular technique in. You know, for quilting as you go, maybe you show a small sampler set. So I started with, you know, this thing to build with. And then when I talk about as I quilt as I go, you know, I would do this step first and you demo that step, and then you would quilt, and then you would go to the next step. And maybe along the way there, you talk about the type of threads that you like to use, or some particular element of tool that you like to use that's a favorite for the particular technique you're showing, what kind of needles you use, that kind of stuff. So it just gives them a taste of what it is that you're going to teach them in a longer, drawn out 4-hour class, but it's just a taste.
Okay, you know, we haven't had anybody do a demo, like a short education on threads or needles or the tools we use.
Right.
Okay, well, my conflict is between giving them a taste but not leaving them hanging. If you give them a taste, you're leaving them hanging. And if I don't leave them hanging, then I'm telling them, you know, the whole, you know, every step. And so that's where I've got, I guess Sue, now that you mentioned it, I mean, I guess I'm just not, I'm showing them the whole thing, but I'm just not telling them, you know, every step. So I'll think about that.
Yeah, we encourage you to think about it and figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that it's just not for you, but you know.
Yeah, I'm sure you can.
I would just like to say, regardless of what you do, you're in front of all of these people. And I think that's the bottom line, is just to get your face in front of all of these people.
Right, it's a good thing. It is really good thing. And David, I'm being really hard-nosed about raising your hand to talk in here. No worries.
I'm so sorry.
No worries at all. Carol's been waiting, and then Susan.
And I really empathize with Diane's dilemma about a taster, give it away. What I finally did, and it was really helpful, was I thought about what are some of the really key core techniques in my class. And I teach improv, and one of the questions I get from students was, how do I make sure my blocks are flat? So I distilled that down to about a 10-minute demo on pressing techniques for improv blocks where you have lots of seams coming together. And I just demoed that. I didn't try to teach an improv class at all. I taught one technique. They could take that away and use it. But if they got curious about what else I teach, that was my goal. And that did happen for me. So, and Diane, definitely feel free to reach out to somebody to brainstorm. I mean, I'd be happy to do a Zoom with you. I'm sure everybody on this call would, to help you think about it. I encourage you to participate and just think about one quick demo of a technique. Bye.
And you quilt in a trailer. You could do how I arrange my space and quilt on the go, you know, and that would pique people's interest and show things. I mean, where do you keep all your stuff? How little stuff do you need when you're in a camper van traveling around and teaching from there? So you have so many things to offer. You have good things. Susan, thanks for waiting.
Do you know what the dates will be next year for sampler platter, or is it way too early to ask?
You know, Sue and Mel and I are just getting through this year. We have not talked about anything for next year, and we probably, unless you guys have pressing questions, we should probably ask those questions of you now with our last 20 minutes. Because, you know, we don't know what you need. We don't know what you want. Is it, how much benefit is it going to provide to you going forward? We know the guilds adore the sampler platters. So probably we won't give that up anytime soon. You know, it's those things are worth our time doing, and we're making it worth your time as well. But what else, what has been useful for you in this period when guilds are going back in person and you're going back in person? What do you need from us? And what would you like from us? And what has been valuable to you? I'm working on a survey that I'll send out to everybody as well. And we're sending out another survey to the guilds on top of everything else that we've got going on. By the way, everybody, clap for Mel, who is the current president of the Studio Art Quilt Association, which is just such a huge job. And thank you so much to Deborah, who was the president, who is logged off for a minute. And she's probably breathing a huge sigh of relief, because I don't know how Mel's doing that and still hanging in with us both. So for that, I'm super grateful. So tell us what you got. What do you need? What can we do? What do you think?
Okay, so that's it. We'll just shut it down.
No, I saw David. I told everybody you have to do jazz hands like this so I could see it, but I saw your finger back here. David.
I guess what I'm interested in is, I got the impression a short while ago that that the Global Quilt Connection was focused on mostly virtual.
Definitely.
And that is huge, because I can only reach the people on my website. I can't go beyond that. But I'm also venturing out into live classes, and I'm just wondering what there is, you know, how does the Global Quilt Connection promote the live classes to, yeah, I love the virtual. I don't ever want to stop doing virtual, ever. But I also enjoy traveling and meeting people and doing all that kind of stuff. And I don't mind schlepping. It's part of what I really enjoy about what we do. So what is it that the live classes are, you know, how are we going to promote those or deal with those?
So the Global Quilt Connection is promoting virtual. We don't put any limits on our teachers also teaching live, but that's not our focus. There are lots of places where you can do that.
Thank you.
In your video where you, I mean, that's what we talked to the guilds about this. That's why we require a video, because that shows you know how to use the tech. In your video, you can say, and I also teach in person.
Okay.
There's no,
thank you.
no restriction on that. Dana. There's also, by the way, is it quilterscalendar.com? I think she's mostly in-person teachers. And Mel's, are you still in charge of that? The Northern California Quilt Council. I actually got an email from them recently saying they're kind of desperate for people to, but that's in person, isn't it?
The July one will be in person and meet.
Which is why they're meeting.
Happen to be in Northern California, let us know, but it's not a virtual.
Right. Thank you, Dana, for being patient.
No problem. So I don't think the guilds are necessarily making that distinction based on the bookings I'm getting. They meet us virtually. That doesn't necessarily mean they invite us virtually. And I want to say also for the California, I did both the Northern California and the Southern California. And you had to, you know, become a member. It was very reasonably priced. I have 3 California guilds that are bringing me in person next year, back to back to back. So it makes it very worthwhile to go to California. And I've done a half a dozen California guild lectures on Zoom. So I don't think the guilds are making that distinction. I don't know, Lyric, if that's what you think, but yes, this promotes us virtually, and the sampler platters show people we know how to do that. And I think they show it really well, but my bookings are a mix. And most of them are coming either from a few from Quilter's calendar, and those also are a mix, and then most from Global Quilt Connection. So I think any of those connections you can make. I don't know if other states have something like the 2 in California, but that was an afternoon of my time, and I don't remember now the price, but it wasn't
like $30.
Yeah, it was under $50 for each one, and you get one booking, and you just are way ahead. So if there's other opportunities like that, and maybe that's something Global Quilt Connection could do. If Global Quilt Connection could let us know where teaching opportunities are that we can apply to and things, I would find that extremely helpful.
That would be an excellent thing for all of you to be active on the Facebook group with. I mean, that's not something that Sue or Mel or I are going to spend our time hunting out teaching opportunities, but working all together and sharing those opportunities is going to be great. And again, with Global Quilt Connection, our only requirement is that you do teach virtually. If you don't teach virtually, it's you know, guilds, we have, that's what we're for. But as you said, Dana, we have become the go-to place for people to find quilt teachers from around the world. And yep, they're getting hired in person and virtually, but we do require anybody who signs up with us to be able to teach virtually and to offer virtual classes. Dana,
if I could say just one more thing. The other thing I've found is that one of the classes I teach doesn't tend to be a big hit with guilds unless they're a really big guild, because it's kind of niche. But Global Quilt Connection, the individuals who watch it, who are interested in my class, that's where almost all my open enrollment class students are almost all coming from Global Quilt Connection. And they're people who are watching it for their guilds, but I might not be the person invited to their guild, but they're individually interested, or they know someone who's going to be. And I'm filling up this one class every month right now, open enrollment, and it's almost all from Global Quilt Connection or people who heard it from somebody who was connected. So
right. We're also building the calendar listing on the Academy for Virtual Teaching that they're all open enrollment. We have a listing for live classes, scheduled classes, and then a listing for on-demand classes too. So that's another good place to go. Jennifer, I see your hand up.
Hi, I'm interested in doing the open enrollment classes or on demand, but I have no idea how to get going with that. So from my website or whatever, so.
Well, it's a lot of work, and it takes, I mean, you already know how to do Zoom classes. So really what you have to do is get it on your calendar, and you have to figure out a way to take payments and get the word out to people. That's all you really need for a live Zoom class, to schedule it yourself. And this, I'm like, I don't want this to be a full-on Academy for Virtual Teaching ad, but that's what we teach there. Is
okay.
How we have a master class that will walk you through every step of the way we talk about marketing. We talk about platform comparisons. We talk about equipment use, how to use it, what you need, video editing. We have tons of tutorials on all that stuff, how to send out a newsletter, how to take payments, organization, communication, you know, just all that stuff. So that's all I'll say about that.
Right. So, okay. Because I teach from my studio on the island and also from my Airstream during the winter. So two different platforms.
Yeah,
so.
You and Diane should like meet up and have a camper quilting party. Fun. Right, did somebody else have their hand up while I wasn't looking? No.
I was just going to mention there are still some teacher spotlight open. So if you want to get your name, if you've got an upcoming on demand or something new that you're offering that wasn't part of the original package, let us know. I'll put the link in the chat. Again, we do have some openings throughout the remainder of the 2022 year. So again, 10,000 newsletter folks. It goes out the 1st of the month and the 15th, as well as social media. So it's a great kind of kickoff for any of these exciting events that you have coming. Books, new programs, patterns, all kinds of stuff that people are promoting and being very successful.
It
Yeah,
actually
it's
goes
a-
out twice because it goes out on the 1st with the main newsletter, and then it goes out with a targeted newsletter on the 15th. So
Right. So if you don't know about it, it's a paid advertisement opportunity. There's a special newsletter just for 3 spotlight teachers. So your face is not competing with anybody but those. You've got those 3 people, and it's a special newsletter that goes straight to the guild reps and to quilters. And you also get your face on front page of the Global Quilt Connection for that month.
Yeah. And then
So-
Mel does a lot of social media with it too. So
Mel is amazing with it. So that's available. Anything else you guys want to talk about or ask us about, or all the things? We good? Okay, maybe we're good. This is being recorded. We'll put the link up in the Facebook group. There was Diane, I think, requested that we make that a little bit more lively. It's super good resource for all of us to educate and lift each other. So make sure you go there and participate. It's up to you to participate.
Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm trying to, what did you write, Michelle? Can you offer?
Michelle, that might be a great thing to talk about in the Facebook group.
The difference between communicating with guilds, individual guilds, and working with teaching shows, conferences and stuff. They are 2 different animals. They are a completely different thing. And that is kind of a long, we have 7 minutes. We can talk about that for a minute. Bye, David. When I work with a guild, it's my contract, always my contract. They might have their own contract and we look at them both together, and I might sign theirs, but I say mine takes precedence, and I put that wording in there. With a conference, it's always their contract. And I look at their terms and decide if they're acceptable to me. And if they're not, I don't apply. You know, what do you guys think? Mel.
Because they tend to be volunteers, you know, again, a part of me being a professional, it's the full service. And so I try to take the higher road, and sometimes it's you doing a little extra mileage. It's not to say that they're not accountable to anything. Again, you have your contract, but sometimes you have to kind of reach out a month in advance. Okay, it's time. Do you want a sample, or it's time to book a flight? Don't wait for them to come to you. It's you taking the initiative and having that process is in place.
Anybody else? And conferences vary so widely. I mean, there's professional, that's their business, like the Mancusos, who are great to work with, by the way. I adore working with them. Diana is so nice to work with. And then there's Houston, that is boot camp for quilters, and good luck if you make any money, but always so much fun. And so I find it worth it. Sue.
Something I always do when I work with guilds is I get 2 points of contact for every guild, because inevitably I can't get a hold of one person, I can hopefully get a hold of the second, and I get phone numbers and emails. So
2 weeks ago, 5 people on an email sent out 3 times, no responses. So I had no idea if my students actually got the Zoom link. And so I started going down my list and calling people on the phone. And it all worked out, but perfect example of, I mean, the original person I worked with wasn't there anymore.
Right.
So I'm glad I had 2 other contacts. Diane.
One comment about working with conferences and big shows. So, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And so this is where, you know, a year or 2 ago, when Road to California was doing their virtual show and the contracts came out, Global Quilt Connection was a great source, because people started saying, this is not a, you know, this is, you know, I don't agree with this, and I'm going to do this. And I'm gonna, cross out this. And so it was kind of like, okay, if we all say this is not working for us, then we have some leverage. But also I didn't know at that time what I didn't know, as far as what is, good contract language and not, in some of these larger shows. And I've worked with, Road to California, Vermont, and there was one that I chose not to do because they wanted to record it. And I chose at the time not to do the recording. I think that's kind of changing a little bit, but I think that is another good example of where, you get a contract or you're working with a big show, you have questions, put a note out to Global Quilt Connection Facebook group, and we can all, kind of help each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think one thing I learned was that the big shows aren't that big. They actually don't have a lot of people, and a lot of them are working on an absolute shoestring to stay alive right now.
Yeah.
And if we want them to continue, sometimes we have to make a bit of extra effort. I mean, I'm not taking less money or anything. I just am aware that sometimes you have to just think, well, if they can make a mistake, I can make a mistake too. We'll forgive each other. Things like that. Because they really don't have this huge office with this big team, and and sometimes they're just trying to work things out, and they don't know what the state they're in is going to do to them tomorrow, let alone in 3 months' time. So flexibility.
Yeah, for all of us right now, COVID is
for even for the big professional shows, the more you get to know what's going on, the more you realize that we're all in it together.
It is. We are so lucky to be swimming in the quilt world ocean. There's
I love it.
All the different kinds of fish, so many of us, so different, and there's room for everybody, and I love it. And we kind of all swim together, we lift each other and help each other, and it's a beautiful thing.
So Lyric's going to do her rising tide thing now. Go ahead, Lyric.
A rising tide lifts all boats. So let's help each other. Let's promote each other. I mean, and that's with Global Quilt Connection too. Mel does a lot of work to promote us on social media. But if we all share things, if we all like boost the sampler platter, if we, it's super easy to share and forward the things from the things that Mel posts. And that really does help all of us. The more people we get to the website, the more visibility we get. So thank you so much for everybody being here. It's been delightful. As always, we love you. You're amazing. You're wonderful, and happy quilting. Keep teaching, keep going, and we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks, ladies. Bye-bye.
See y'all. Yep. Good job.